Welcome to Let's Talk, a call-in show on the Skeptic Haven channel. Let's Talk is a safe place for atheists, those questioning or leaving religion, and anyone that wants to ask questions and have respectful discussions. From the US, call us at 984-789-4787. And from outside the US, call in from your computer using the URL on the screen. Let's get started.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.
Hello, Stacy. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm trying to be sunny today. So
well, you are very sunny. You have a very sunny smile.
Thank you. You too.
It's great to see you.
So I guess we're doing a little bit of a deconstruction and family impact show here today, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
So you've had quite a bit of experience. So this ought to be an interesting take for you. Let's see what the audience has to say.
Definitely. I mean, I thought that this would be a good topic because well, maybe your dogs want to weigh in.
Mute for a second.
It's all good. I think that a lot of people can relate to this topic. I know that I get a lot of messages on my social media from people who are either afraid to come out to family, or if they have come out to family, they don't necessarily get a good reaction. I've had good and bad experiences coming out to family. So there's just so much that you can talk about regarding deconversion and family, or even just friends, just within your circle. So
yeah, this is really one of the saddest subjects for me, because not for me, but of my opinion, because your family loves you and your family should love you, and you would think that would be somewhat unconditional. It's like you haven't murdered the next door neighbor or something like this.
Exactly.
And the idea that somebody can stop talking to you, can stop funding your college, or telling other families not to talk to you, it's insane. I mean, I think it reminds me of the extreme nature of Scientology and things like cults like of that extreme nature. But you see it in a lot of ultra conservative or just conservative religions, and that's really bothersome to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like I've had kind of a lucky experience, but I have had family kind of cut me out from leaving religion. I've talked about it a little bit here and there. But the weird part about it is the family member that has cut me out, they weren't even religious. So figure that one out.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then what was their reasoning?
Their reasoning was, I guess they felt that they were made to feel guilty for not attending church for all those years. And now that we were out, I thought it would be like, oh my gosh, we can have all these great conversations now. But instead, they were just angry, even though we always loved, accepted. My thing was always, I was afraid of hell. So I never wanted them to end up in hell, because I really believed in that. But I never forced, like, hey, you need to come to church with me. I always just hoped, because I had such a strong belief in God and believe in that my hope was one day they would get their life right with God. But I didn't really put that like on them. It was just sort of my prayer to myself for that person. So then when we did, like, by we, I mean like my mom and I, when we deconverted, they kind of just flipped the script and just got really angry and just lost it on us, and just were like, you made me feel like this, and it's like, but we were what? So it was really confusing. So that's been the only really negative response from a family member that I've had. And it's like, okay, I actually don't understand. And that's fine if you're going to be upset because it actually doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Um, so,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
wondering if there's how common it is to have a cutoff versus a middle ground. He
Hmm.
says I run into some people, and no, unless you're on like one of these shows where you're talking about your deconstruction or not, you don't really get the story. But um, the idea that well, yes, you're a family member, but we just won't talk about that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Middle ground positions, it would
Yeah.
seem to me to be the worst it should ever get.
Hmm.
Not the I'm not going to let you see your grandchild kind of stuff, or you can't talk to your mother ever again. I
Right.
mean, imagine that
Yeah.
being told that you can't talk to your mother ever again.
I,
That's
I
yeah,
couldn't. No, not at all. And then on the flip side, we've reconnected with family that I guess years ago, religion did play a part in sort of us not speaking for so long because it just kind of it got in the way of just it got to be too much for everyone, and from
yeah,
deconverting, it actually brought us all back together, and it was amazing. It was it was wonderful because they were not religious, and it just got too hard um, to just stay really close. And since deconverting, we've been able to just have really awesome conversations and reconnect. And so for me, that was worth it all. So like
yeah.
I said, there's been both sides to this journey. And yeah.
Another thing that strikes me is how bad it can, how extreme it can get for some people. I mean, the two most um, the two best talkers, I guess, and thinkers, I suppose, in our movement would be like Seth Andrews and Aaron Ra, for example, and they have families that they just could not communicate with or will not communicate with them.
Mhm.
Seth's dad passed away not too long ago, a few months back,
Yeah.
6 months or so, and he never, you know, never really connected, and that's so sad. I mean,
Mhm.
generations will split
Yeah.
to a degree, but to be able to never communicate or to think, especially to think that you're when people think you're harming the world, and it goes
Yeah.
both ways because we
Yeah.
we we kind of think that they're harming the world in some sense because they're not dealing with the reality. They're teaching their children a fear of hell when they could be not doing that, not putting that
Yeah.
psychological baggage on top of them that they may or may not ever get out of, not
Yeah.
continuing the cycle another generation. But it's a tough one.
It is really tough.
We have a let's see, we have a question here that's Wes, I'm sorry. It's harder
That's
to
okay.
run this and think. We have a poll question I want to bring up that
Sure.
kind of plays in that. So let you read this for me because it's a little small for my
Sure.
text here.
So it says, after becoming an atheist, how many family members now shun you? So zero, 50% of people said zero. 19% said 1 to 2. So I think I'd fall within that category. And then 6% said 3 to 5. So that's that's actually that's a lot of people, small percentage, but still that's too many. That's
Yeah.
3 to 5 too many.
When I wrote this question down, put it, by the way, I do this every week. I put this on the YouTube community tab. So if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and you'll see these pop up on your feed. So
Mhm.
participate in these. It helps us out. But when I first started to write this question, I wrote 1 to 2, 3 to 4. I was trying to figure out what the
Mhm.
ranges it should
Yeah.
be, and then
Oh,
it occurred to
sorry.
me
And
that
I just saw the bottom. It flipped 6 plus people, 25%.
oh, okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that
That's
makes
a
more
lot.
sense at the
Yeah.
top. It is
Yeah.
it's a chunk.
Yeah.
But what I forgot to do initially was put that 0 in. So, and
Yeah.
then of course I went back right away and did. I had to delete the post like within a
Mhm.
minute because I thought, yeah, there's got to be quite a few people that are not shunned, and that's
Mhm.
we don't want to miss that point. We don't
Yeah.
want to overstate this, that just because you've become an atheist or decided to talk about deconverting, which is, well, deconversion doesn't necessarily mean you're giving up religion. It means you're examining it. There's a lot of people who deconvert and then go into another religion.
That's true.
But it's nice to see that a pretty good sized number get through it without losing family contact.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
it doesn't mean, it shouldn't scare people off from questioning things. It doesn't mean you're going to lose people in your life just because you're going to, stop being a believer.
Yeah.
Because, my grandma is someone who's the sadly for her, she's the last one standing in our family. She's the one who kind of brought it all in back in the 70s, and she's literally the last one standing. And she's fine. Like we are still, we still have a relationship, and she knows that I'm an atheist now, and she still loves me and my mom and stuff. So, I think she still prays and hopes that things will change, but our relationship has not been severed. So
yeah. Same happened with me and my mother. My mother is a strong, well, she's a Catholic. I don't know if there is such a thing as a strong Catholic. She's a Catholic in the sense that she's always been Catholic, but she's not like a Bible reader Catholic kind of a thing. So
sounds like a lot of Catholics.
Yeah. So she just didn't understand why I didn't believe. It's just like the concept was unknown to her, that you couldn't, that you wouldn't or couldn't believe.
Yeah.
So it was one of those, we just kind of left it aside questions and we were okay.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
People
are, oh, sorry. I was going to just say, people are asking in the chat if we get calls. And yes, this is a call-in show. So please feel free to call in using the phone number 984-789-4787. And if you are outside the US, you can call in from your computer using the URL that's on the bottom of the screen. So please feel free to call in with your comments or questions.
And Wes, if you could take that URL and make sure it's in the chat too, so people can cut and paste
Just
it.
click or cut and
yeah.
paste.
I want to mention too that that URL, you can use that if you're in the United States too, if you wish.
Yeah.
It's just that if you're outside the US, you don't want to be calling the direct line because you will be getting a huge phone bill. So,
right. And sometimes it is a little more clear calling from a computer as well if you have like a proper mic or something. So just a little tidbit.
So you've got the call-in screen there? I just jumped in at literally 2 minutes after. No? Okay.
No, this is my first time doing the call-in show at Skeptic Haven. So
oh, okay. I'm gonna open it up on my screen then. So I can keep an eye on it. So give me 1 sec.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for filling in. Like 4 minutes to go. I know. People are going to click on the thumbnail and be like, "Oh, wow, sunny."
And we have calls. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna bring one in.
We
just
love
do a little
calls.
Screen arrangement. I'm sorry about this delay, people. Okay, we're going to bring in an anonymous caller.
Okay.
She is from planet Earth, which is, I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah. I happen to be from there as well, so.
So we have something in common. Hello, Anonymous. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Great. Welcome to Let's Talk. What would you like to talk about today? Would you like to ask us or comment on?
Oh, I have kind of a unique or maybe a strange problem that maybe some people won't consider a problem, but for me it is a problem. I post content online. Maybe people know who I am, maybe not. And recently on TikTok, my mom's content has been coming across my For You page. And they're doing this based off of contact information. And my mom knows that I've left the religion. I have made that clear to her. but she's not really seen my content, or at least I don't think she's seen the kind of content I post. And remember, she is in a high control religion, so the things I say could be very offensive to her. Here's the quandary for me. Some people say just block her and then you won't have to worry whatsoever. But something Stacy said kind of stuck with me. What if there was an opportunity for a conversation? What is something that she has a question about? Maybe she decides to take a look at my content, and I blocked her, and then she couldn't see if she wanted to, and then she would know I blocked her, which could cause other problems.
So it sounds like you want to have this conversation.
Again, I know this is right.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have open dialogue with her about these really hot, pressing topics, but she may never be in that space. That might just be how it goes for our relationship. But
do you think your relationship?
Our relationship has.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's been strained since I began creating content. So that has been a bit difficult, where we used to talk on a regular basis. Now we don't really talk so much. And I'm pretty sure it's because I kind of laid down my boundaries and said, hey, I don't believe in this and I don't want to be asked to come back. Like, I want that portion of my life to end. So things have changed since then, and that's okay. I accept that. I just wonder if blocking might be the safest thing to do to salvage any relationship. Or, yeah, I know it's kind of a weird question and problem that not many people would have, but
well,
people in this predicament who content.
Do you have a close enough, I don't know the background, of course, or anything like that. Do you have a close enough relationship or historical relationship with her that you think you could start with, say, the common ground of letting her know up front that, number one, you want to tell her something, excuse me, but you don't want to convert her, and the bottom line to you is maintaining your relationship? Do you think she'd be there to start?
I have considered that, like, preemptively, just kind of being honest and upfront and saying, hey, Ma, I make content. This is where I do it. Would you feel more maybe that would be the best if I just okay.
There is no get Stacy in here in one sec, but there is no obvious best answer here. Let me put that down right away. So Stacy, you were going to say?
Yeah, I feel like there's probably okay, so since you've been making content on TikTok, did you say you feel like things have sort of changed a little bit in your relationship? Because there's probably a good chance that she's come across it, because I know with TikTok, it will suggest people to follow based on who you have in your contact list. So she may have already come across it. And if you block her now, she might know that you've blocked her, and that could cause hurt feelings. Skeptic Haven just put up, does anyone in here know if they can tell you block them? I don't think it alerts anyone. I mean, if she goes to search for you, if she did come across your profile already and then goes to search for you and can't find you, then she would probably assume either you deleted your profile or you blocked her. She could try to find you from maybe someone else's profile and then see that she can see you from that profile and then know, oh, she blocked me. And then that could cause hurt feelings. I think if she knows that you are no longer a believer, making content doesn't necessarily, I I don't know. I make content. And people know I'm not a believer. And so you can also see for a certain amount of time who views your stuff on TikTok. I'm sure you know that. So you could maybe even just check that little icon and see who's seen it. But she may have already seen it because you're in her phone.
Right.
I gotta say, I'm a little less
That's
concerned
that's
with
why she was immediately pushed to me.
Pardon?
I was just saying, I was agreeing with you that yes, she was immediately pushed to me as soon as they
Yeah,
rolled that
that's
whole out.
that's what was
So
happening to me when I first downloaded TikTok. It was like, "Hey, you should follow this person." And I was like, "How does it know I know this person?" But then I realized it's based on who you already have in your phone's contact list. So
yeah.
there's a really good chance it did the same to her. So
I'm a little less concerned about the
like,
blocking, the
Mhm.
blocking type issues. My gut is to put the relationship issue first. And it would be nice if you two had an interaction where she doesn't have to just to agree with you at all, but that she knows that you're the same person. You can demonstrate you're a nice person, a good person, all this stuff, as if she really needs to know that from a mother, as if she would question that. So that maybe she does, maybe she has this misinformation about, if you don't believe, then you've got devils running through between your ears or something like that. So having a conversation about that or just showing her that, no, that's not true. Yeah. You don't have to go deep into an initial conversation. You can have a sort of to breach the topic just on the edge and see how the reaction goes. And if she's not ready, or if she doesn't want to, or if she says, get away, the atheism will rub off, kind of a thing, and I never want to talk to you again. You'll get some inkling before you go deep into a half an hour conversation of, oh, this is why I believe, and what you believe is wrong, and these are the reasons. So there are ways to ease into these things and to back out.
Mhm.
I'm tending to agree with both of you. For whatever reason, when people were saying to just block, it didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
Because even though the relationship might not be where it used to be, I still feel like maybe approaching the subject with putting the relationship first and just saying, hey, as you know, whatever. But I think that might be how I do it and let her know. And then it's in her hands, and I can say, look, if you want to block me, if that makes you, like, I understand, and just put it in her hands. So she knows that I'm not protecting anything. Like she's more than welcome, but I don't know that she'll like it. But hey, who knows? Maybe the conversation, who knows? You never know where a conversation can go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, it's one thing to deal with somebody on social media, or even deal with them on the street in a conversation that came up. It's another thing with a family parent. The realities are the same in terms of what's true and what's false, but there's a lot more, I think, need to be more gentle and considerate to each other within families, because it's really almost never a good situation to end up with being separated. And you don't want to block her and have her find out about that she's been blocked too. That's gonna go bad.
Yeah.
If it comes in the other
Yeah,
direction.
that's kind of rude.
Yeah.
And just to touch on what Skeptic Haven is saying in the comments about excommunication, like with the Jehovah's Witnesses, that is one of the biggest worries, is that you could be excommunicated. As far as I know, there's nobody in the higher ups who know that. I mean, I have no idea, but I'm assuming that nobody knows that I make content, because nobody's said anything to my mom. Well, I don't believe anybody has said anything to my mom or dad about it, but that is a worry, that there could be this realization of who I am or whatnot, and then pressure could come on to my parents
Right.
to not talk to me. I mean, that's what I'm trying to avoid with. People know who I am, but they don't know, but they don't know who I am. So there's just
Mhm.
a touch of anonymity, like a little bit of a ball of protection around me.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think that would ever be an issue for me, but for other people, 100%, that would be a problem, being ostracized if they were found out for the content they make. So I'm a fortunate one. Sad to say, but I'm a fortunate one who hopefully doesn't have that worry as much.
Within the Jehovah Witness community, I don't know. So I'm asking you here. I mean, we hear the horror stories on the atheist side because we are seeing the people and talking to the people who have been shunned. I don't know how common that is. And I don't know if you can speak to that either, but within your own family circle, have you seen any of that or any inklings of anybody else getting, if someone says something or does something that doesn't seem to toe the line, do they turn away, or do you think that they would want to maintain contact and just not, like I say, talk about religion or whatever?
Well, this is so hard because it just goes so deep. There is a lot of dysfunction in the family when it comes to cutting other members off. But to be fair, the cutting off really isn't religious. There was one time where my aunt and cousin unfriended me on Facebook because they thought I was too worldly. But since then, they've talked to me. So, it's like whatever. But there seems to be this ability, and I think a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses can speak to this, ability to turn on their relationships like a light switch, like off and on. So far, I've been very fortunate to not been affected by that, but I've seen it happen between like the family, my mom's side family members, the ones who are Jehovah's Witnesses. So there is that. I'm hoping that won't be an issue for me, but for other people, I'm sure they experience that same exact thing where somebody can just cut you off. Like, nope, if cutting you off is the right thing, they'll do it.
Right.
Yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, I'm thinking of if you get to an open conversation and they are saying to you that you're trying to destroy me or destroy my chances of being in heaven, that kind of a thing, that you can temper that, because they essentially, when they proselytize to you or just continuing going to the church every week or whatever, they're trying to save your soul. So you can bring that logic back to them the same way that, well, I'm trying to help you. You don't want to go to the point of really trying to convert them, but you at least to the point of, I want you to know me, and at least we have the right. We should have at least the right to know each other. And sometimes we have to disagree, but I care about you. I don't want to lose this relationship with you, but I really want you to know who I am, even though I've changed a little bit. It doesn't mean I'm a completely different person. I'm not a hateable person. And that's what you've got to demonstrate, that you're the same person they've loved your entire life.
Right.
Right. And I love how you put that. I just want them to get to know me, who I am, like today versus, I mean, again, I am still that same person. I'm just a little bit of upgraded somebody who has an ability to critically think about things now, whereas I just listened to what I was told to do, followed orders as you're supposed to as a good little soldier.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to take that advice, and I'm going to put the relationship first, and I'm going to pull up my pants and send a message and just be honest. And honestly, I might be making a big deal of nothing, and it could be just
many times.
no
You did trigger me a little bit there with one word. You said upgraded. Because for whatever reason, I guess I've been doing this for a while. I always kind of think of what's the other side going to say back at me. So that's going to trigger them if you ever use that word. So you wouldn't say upgraded to them.
Well, I wouldn't know.
You would say slightly. You'd say different or something that's not implying that they are downgraded or whatever, or that you are above them, because you're not. Right. So be careful of words like that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say that to her. I just mean in general, that's how I feel about myself. Like I'm proud of who I am, what I've been through. It's made me a strong person. It sucks. I wish I didn't have to. I wish nobody had to. But we can pick up the pieces and we can keep moving forward and share our stories, and maybe we can pull some people along with us, even if it is kicking and screaming.
And you are a strong person, because look at what you've done. You've come out of a controlling upbringing and exposed yourself to literally what is real versus what is believed to be real, and you've done that pretty much by yourself, I'm guessing. So good on you.
Yeah.
And with good community.
Okay, so thank you. We're gonna jump on to the next one. Thank you so much for calling. Tell your friends about the show.
Anonymous from Planet Earth.
Planet Earth.
Love you.
Care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Let's see if I can drop that. Yeah, that is a tough one. So you don't know how people are going to react, but I just hate the idea of having the relationship cut off like that.
No, exactly.
So
I agree.
I'm going to jump to, let's see. Well, let's just take him in order. I guess we'll take D from Canada. Says her son isn't speaking to her anymore. D, welcome to Let's Talk. What would you like to talk about?
Me. Hi.
How are you doing today? This evening?
I'm doing great. This is Stacy's mom.
Oh, you're that D. Well, does that mean, Stacy, you want to talk to her, or do you?
You can talk to her? I mean, she's the family member I was referring to that is no longer talking to us is my brother, her son. So.
So this is kind of like you and her both calling.
I guess, but she could give. I mean, she might have something else to say and give her perspective. I'll just let you talk because I don't know what you're going to say. This was not planned.
Yeah, she was kind of beating around the bush, and I thought, okay, F that. We're not beating around the bush anymore.
Yeah,
he's not going to see this. He's not going to listen to this. He's not hearing it. So he. I don't know. At the beginning, he seemed on board. He was like, okay, finally you guys are seeing it, right? And then gradually, it seemed like he was getting angrier and angrier. And there was a couple of times he and I had a couple of really good conversations. And I was really happy. Like we were really bonding over this. And a couple of times he said to me, I don't know why you didn't just open up to me, Mommy, and tell me that you didn't believe. And I said, well, you and I didn't have the kind of relationship where I could just open up to you. We didn't have that. And he said, well, I wish that we did. And I said, yeah, I wish we did too. But he was always kind of the kind of person that he lived with me, but he was always just coming and going. He kind of used the place as a place to sleep, get ready, and leave. Whereas Stacy and I had the relationship where we shared everything. We talked about everything. We did everything together. And every once in a while, he would say to me, I'm sorry I'm not like Stacy. I'm sorry I'm not perfect. And I would say, look, nobody's like Stacy. Even I couldn't hold a candle to Stacy. And there were times I would say, I'm more like you than I am like Stacy. And I was trying to hint around to him, I don't believe in any of this shit either. So I was trying to open up the door for conversation, but he wouldn't walk through that door with me. So I did try. I really tried. But I was so in the Christian bubble, I couldn't get out of it. So there were times that I tried to initiate conversation, but he was just so in his own bubble that he didn't see what I was trying to say. Now,
let me get a little bit of let me get a little bit of context here. first off, is he the only son in the family?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just
And
me,
are
him,
there
Stacy. That's it.
other sisters in the family besides Stacy?
No.
Nope.
So just a brother and a
Nope.
sister. Okay. So it's not like he wasn't getting the attention
Yeah.
from that perspective, at least. That's what happened with me. I had two sisters and they'd always play together and I'd be by myself. So
No.
give me a little perspective or context on the ages here. But you and he were both Christian?
At
Just
one point,
take us back to that point. Were you guys having this communication problem at that point before you converted?
How old
No.
was he when he went on that trip with the pastor and he came back and said, I'm done with this crap. This is all. How old was he when he went with the pastor on a
about
vacation? Like
probably 12 or 13. Yeah, I'm older. I'm 3 years older.
yeah.
Okay. So what was your position at that time?
Yeah.
Were you still a Christian?
He came back from going on a, well, I was, but I wasn't. I was already in unbelief, but I was just walking the walk, talking the talk, but I wasn't really in my heart.
So how did you react to him when he essentially opened the door for you then to have that conversation, because he made a decision for himself?
He said, I don't want to do this anymore. I said, you don't have to. That's fine. You don't have to. I never made him go to church. I never said he had to.
So this is a little bit hard because this is really kind of family therapy type stuff, and that's really not what we should be doing.
No,
it's
yeah.
on the show, so I'm sorry if I take this a little too far. So I'm just trying. Yeah. So I'm trying to do this on instinct here, but
no, it's fine. You don't have to give we're just kind of giving you a backstory of And if anything, I was the one who made my mom go to church. So.
Well, because what I'm trying to get to is that there seems to be an underlying communication problem before the atheist theist issue came up. And have you worked on that or found a way to work on that? Or is that still an issue?
No, there's a lot of issues.
Okay.
There's a lot of issues. Basically, Stacey put upon herself to be the perfect Christian. My son said, I don't want to do this. I said, you don't have to do this. And he basically kept comparing himself to his sister. And I kept saying, stop comparing yourself to your sister. She's trying to be perfect. You don't have to be. I'm more like you than you realize. And nobody can be like her. So go live your life. And I kept saying to her, be more like your brother.
Just don't be so hard on yourself.
Understand why? Stop being so hard on yourself. And he has just stopped talking to us, and we don't get it. So
Super
end of
weird.
story. We just don't get it.
Is he a loner personality, or does he interact well with other people?
No, he is the kind of guy who has 1,500 friends, and they come before all of us. We have a really tiny family, and we have a really super tiny family. We don't have a huge family. And he would make an appearance at a birthday party and say, I have 5 other birthday parties to be at right now, and I'm here for 30 minutes. So you get my presents for 30 minutes, and then I have to go. And we were grateful for any time he would give us. End of story, period. So, yeah.
Stacy,
we love him.
Anything to put in here before I...
Pardon?
Do you have anything to add before I give my 2 cents here?
I mean, that's the story. It's just there's a lot. I mean, we can't get into everything in a 5-minute phone call, but there's a lot, and it's just.
I wanted you guys to. She was being very kind. She's saying a family member. It's literally her only sibling, and she's been very kind about all of this. So it's your turn, Phil. Go.
Okay. Here's what I'm going to suggest that you do. This will solve all your problems.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, wow. Okay, go.
Yeah. See, I'm taking full credit for this. there are too many issues, and,
Oh, yeah.
under
Right?
the radar, and other things going on here that we can't really figure this out here.
No.
So I am going to recommend that you contact Recovering from Religion, get a referral to a secular counselor who has some training in psychology, proper training, and has been through this with other people. Because I am not going to be able to give you any more advice other than what kind of gave on the last call, which is to try to let the other person know that what is important to you most is having a relationship. But if there's all these underlying issues that obviously we're not going to talk about here and shouldn't, I think you need to get some more professional advice, and I would go there for it, because they've dealt with this. I can guarantee you hundreds of times.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
if Wes, if you could put that, I don't know if you got the number up on screen.
He has it on
I see
the
a
screen.
scroll. You're very tiny on my screen now.
Yes,
so
I have a big computer right now. So it is recoveringfromreligion.org, and then their phone number is 184 I doubt it. So I think my brother just he kind of saw this as an opportunity to just say bye. Because of lots of that's kind of what I think. So
yeah, there are other issues that have to be dealt with. So
exactly.
I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay.
families have junk.
That's the best I can do for you. I'll take
Yeah.
full credit for whatever they resolve. So
Yeah.
at least they can help out.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice to see your face, Phil.
Yeah, I think it's the first time she's seen you. So
Yeah.
I'm tempted to ask you guys about your new podcast, but we have another call.
I will plug it at the end.
Can you do a quick plug?
Yeah. So if you we have started our podcast. It's the Stacey's Mom Podcast, STACIE, and it's going really well, and we're having a lot of fun. So if people want to come and subscribe to our channel, it is the Stacey's Mom Podcast.
You doing that on a podcast or on YouTube?
Or YouTube, sorry, a YouTube. I call it a podcast. I don't know what else. Our channel, the Stacey's Mom.
Okay.
Yeah,
podcast
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But
marketing.
Yes, we will we're learning as we go. We are literally learning as we go. And we're having a great time. And Pragmatic Crystal said links are in the description. So thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and we love Crystal. She's everywhere.
Crystal is the best. She's our PR.
Okay, DM, I'll let you go. And thank you.
Thank you.
Representing. Thank you.
I'll see you in a few minutes for dinner.
Bye, guys. Thank you. I'm cooking your dinner as we speak. Okay, bye.
I love you. Bye.
Jeez. This is like a horror film. It's like they're in the next room.
Oh, here. Rion even just showed it. There it is, right there.
Thank you, Rion.
Yeah. Perfect.
Well, okay.
Okay.
I'm going to jump right into the next one here because it's like all family.
That is great. I love it.
We have next up, we have Eric from Washington. He's an ex-Jehovah Witness dealing with the religious family as a public atheist. So,
hi, Eric.
Hello, Eric. Welcome to Let's Talk. Thank you for calling.
I mean, there's probably a million Erics in Washington. I'm just saying hi, Eric, because I feel like I know who this one is.
I may or may not be the Eric, Stacey.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
I'm going to back off. So I'm doing pretty good, but it's Stacey's turn. So go ahead, Stacey. Have at him.
How are you?
I'm good. I just came off of the Sunday show with Matt, so I decompressed a little bit, then I hopped back on. I noticed you guys are having a stream, and so is Ember, and I was like, oh no, I gotta make a choice here. So I chose you guys tonight.
Thank you for coming and saying hello.
Yeah, I came in at the middle of the not your mom, but the conversation before that. From what I gathered, that was an ex-Jehovah's Witness who was getting into content creation, and she had concerns about family members that are currently discovering her content. Is that?
She wanted to know if her if she should contact her mother and let her know, because she didn't know if her mom knew that she was creating content.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because with TikTok,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Go ahead.
With TikTok, sometimes people, or it will suggest people who are in your contact list. And so she's not sure if her mom came across her content and should she block her, or would
Yeah.
that cause more issues? So,
Yeah. I had to deal with the same, I had to grapple with the same questions when
okay.
I was kind of creating my channel, back late last year. Because for the most part, most of my family is either out or they're cool with me being out. All except my one oldest brother. He's
Oh,
still very much in and a Jehovah's Witness. And with the Jehovah's Witnesses, when you leave, when you're an active Jehovah's Witness and you're baptized and you're committed and you decide to leave, uh, that's as bad as pretty much anything else that they can consider you doing. You basically are saying, "Oh, I reject this religion. I don't think it's true." You're basically taking on the label of apostate, which is lower than garbage to a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses. There's basically no returning from that state. So yeah, I had to grapple with that when I was leaving, or at least when I was creating my channel, because I've been out for 14 years now, but I've never been
right.
public about it. I've never been on the internet talking about it. And I still, I love my brother. I still want him to, I still want to have a relationship with him, even though he knows I've kind of left, and he knows, like, unofficially, just I'm inactive. I'm not participating in the religion. I'm not actively speaking out against it from his point of view.
Mhm.
When I was making my YouTube channel, I was like, man, if he ever finds this, he's going to know for sure I'm now full blown apostate. I've rejected the
Right.
religion. I'm actively working against it. And yeah, that was a basically just a reality I had to accept. While he should not be online looking for, YouTube content,
'Cause
aggressive
that
against the
could
witnesses,
get him
if
in
he were to
trouble,
find it,
right?
yeah, it would get him in trouble. Yeah, like, what are
Yeah.
you doing with these things? But if you were to ever find it, it's just kind of a reality you have to accept. You almost have to say to yourself, I accept this will eventually happen. I will eventually be
Mhm.
found if you take that step into public discourse.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it's something you kind of gotta contend and grapple with, and make that decision up front. It's probably not a decision you want to make after you start, because you've already kind of committed to the cause and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But I can't remember the other point I was about to make here. It can be very difficult in accepting that, and it can be very difficult in saying, hey, one day this may terminate my relationship with a family member.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's right. That was the other thing I was going to say. It just kind of goes to show how kind of toxic some of these religions are. The religions that tell family members to cut off relationships with other family members if they ever step out of line.
Mhm.
It's just, it's cult 101, basically.
Oh, totally.
You cannot associate with a family member that leaves, because they may pull you out. They are now, Scientologists call them
Suppressed.
what's the term that
Suppressed.
Scientologists?
Suppressed.
Sorry?
A suppressive
Yeah.
person.
Suppressive individuals. Yeah, something like that. And then, the witnesses call them apostates or bad association and all that.
So they're really concerned with you infecting them, essentially, more than anything else. Infecting others with this line of
basically
thought.
that. It's a way to insulate the group from outside opinion, outside information. Like Jehovah's Witness leadership are literally, they're on record, on video record, at least one of their governing body members saying, don't go to websites we don't approve of, don't watch videos we don't approve of, only research off of our approved resources, which is basically everything on their website. Jehovah's Witnesses have like a whole online library called, it's called JW Library, but it's essentially all their, not all their publications, all the publications they haven't like kind of buried, because really old publications are embarrassing with old information. But they basically tell you only do your research on our website.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that information control. They're restricting what information an individual can take in, because if you are able to do that, you can feed them whatever you want, and they'll believe whatever you want them to believe.
Yeah.
Were you religious as an
Yeah,
adult?
anyway,
Were you still religious
as an adult, I was born into the JWs, from birth, and I left when I was 27. I didn't leave because I outgrew it. I didn't leave because I was smarter or more intelligent than I think other people were in there. Circumstances kind of allowed me to leave, which I consider myself very fortunate in that, circumstances allowed me to leave the constant social pressure of the environment I was in, kind of isolate myself inadvertently for a while. And then once I was isolated, it just fell apart. I describe it like, dried mud off of skin. It just kind of just dried up and fell off me.
Yeah.
So I didn't get out of any initiative of my own. It just kind of happened. And then once I was out, I realized, wow, what happened? What was this all about? And then I started looking back and deconstructing. So I deconverted first, and I deconstructed. But
what I'm wondering is this: since you know of the training, because you were exposed to it at a good age. I mean, not when you were like 12 or something, but when you were an adult, and you could think for yourself. Yeah. Was there any teaching that allowed for kin, and or was it always God comes first, family must come? You would sacrifice your family for God if that's what it took, and they drilled that into you. Because it seems like kin is the strongest connection we have, and that's in our nature. That's biology. That's evolution. That's oxytocin. And this has been well documented. One of my favorite studies, I don't remember who did it, but there was somebody who wanted to determine the level of oxytocin in kin layers, concentric circles of kin. So they got permission to go to a wedding, and they took blood from literally everybody who came to the wedding and the wedding reception. Yeah. And they saw those consecutive layers, consecutive circles of close kin and wider kin and wider kin, and you could see the oxytocin diluting itself over time. Any Stacey, any guess as to who had the highest oxytocin level in that wedding ceremony?
I'm excited to find out.
Take a guess.
The couple?
Okay, that was my guess. My guess would have been the couple. It was the mother of the bride. Was the dead center of that circle.
I was about to jump to father of the bride, but
well, same reasoning, I guess. Yeah. So, and it went out from there. So
wow.
Yeah, it is stunning. It is stunning to me that you can overcome that. We're learning a lot about psychology in the last 20 to 50 years. And that's one of the things that you can overcome biology with manipulation and cultural reinforcement. So,
yeah.
Wow.
To go back to the question, it's very much the latter of the two options you mentioned. It's God comes first. Second, God comes first, even to family. And they rely on certain scriptures like, Matthew 10:34-36, which, is Jesus basically saying, I don't come to bring peace to earth. I bring a sword. I'm going to divide families, father from son, daughter.
That's exactly
mother,
what I was going to
so
say.
forth. Yeah. And witnesses, they do absolutely go with that. So just a week ago, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a YouTube channel named Alt Worldly. The guy's name is Jacob On, and I like listening to him. He's a fellow Jehovah's Witness, or ex-Jehovah's Witness rather. I think just last week there was a couple of videos that the Watchtower Society released or were about to release, but then decided not to. So they weren't like publicly available. There were basically two videos supporting the idea of a family member shunning another family member.
Wow.
There was one video, it was a mother who was disfellowshipped. It was a dramatization. A mother who was disfellowshipped was calling her daughter, and the daughter sees the mother on caller ID on the phone and decides not to answer. And then goes into a monologue about how she's serving Jehovah this is the right thing to do. As much as it hurts to shun your mother, this is for her own good, because she did wrong and she needs to learn the lesson and come back
Oh my
humbly.
gosh.
Um,
Wow.
it is toxic AF, and
Yeah.
and this is I find this really rich because I think it was in the Canadian Supreme Court, a representative of the Jehovah's Witness tried to tell the Supreme Court or whatever, I forget the exact court context it was in, but on record, a Canadian representative of the Jehovah's Witnesses told a Canadian court that despite disfellowshipping, normal family relationships continue. It's the spiritual relationships that are cut off, like a daughter cannot
Whatever.
associate spiritually with her mother in a disfellowship state, whatever that means. But then
That's
they had this
marketing.
video that they created
That's
internally,
marketing
and
for
I
you.
didn't release it at the last moment, that demonstrate otherwise. So
Wow.
Yeah.
it's terrible. Yeah, it's really, really bad. And this is the type of thing, like, going back to me and my brother, I left 14 years ago. He's my oldest brother. He's like 15 years older than I am. I can tell he genuinely cares about me. He took a special interest in me when I was really young to help develop me spiritually in the religion and stuff. And then he knows I not that I left and I'm actively working against the Jehovah's Witnesses, but that I just left and I'm not participating anymore. So just that on its own has put a strain on our relationship. He only talks to me very briefly about family business. There's never any like, hey, how are you doing? Watching any good movies lately? How's your
Right.
wife? It's always just, here's what we need to take care of. Okay, thank you. I'll talk to you
Yeah.
next month.
Just
Address this
business.
Yeah. So
that's sad because the relationship becomes very superficial at that point, right? It's like you can't sit down and have a brother to brother talk, or that's too bad.
Very much family, normal familial relationships do not continue in this state because he is, like I said, we're not behaving to each other like brothers. We're behaving to each other like basically like business associates who have to talk to each other once a month to get everything in order until the next month.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the things, like, it's been going on like this for a few years. And when I decided to start my YouTube channel, I said to myself, I was like, you know what? What more do I have to lose here when it comes to my relationship with him? It's already as if he's treating me like I'm disfellowshipped or I'm an apostate. And I'm like, I want to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So, so I did that with the risk of, hey, he might find out about it. Things might get, worse, for lack of a better term. I don't know if I can get much worse than that, but it's just it's kind of just a risk you have to take. And it's almost, you want to look at it and go, you know what? I accept this will eventually be found out. I accept that somebody will see something I made, talk to somebody who talks to somebody who talks to somebody who talks to somebody I know, and then I'm out. Like I'm now public about this. So I can't give much advice about that. It's just do your best to prepare. You're addressing your caller that you had. Do your best to prepare for the worst, because just expect the worst to happen. And then if it doesn't happen, hey, you're lucky. If it does, you're prepared. So I've had similar experiences, and lots of other ex-witnesses, ex-cult members also have the same experiences where you're giving up your friends, your family, your social network because you no longer believe what the belief is, and in a lot of religions, that's not a big deal. Okay, you don't believe anymore, or oh, hey, you're not going to church anymore. Okay, no big deal. You still want to come over at Christmas or something. But with the witnesses, it's okay, well, we're not going to talk to you. We're going to literally not talk to you anymore unless we absolutely have to. It's really toxic, and I feel for people who have to go through that. I've gone through it myself, and I've had it easy compared to others from what I've heard. So
it's a shame.
And that's why I think why communities like this. Communities like this are really important. Getting people online, talking to each other, venting, processing. I think this is really important. It's a good service for this community.
Yeah,
I
agree.
We do support each other on this side of it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Eric, for giving us a call and helping out.
Thank you.
It's not going to get resolved in every family. We know that, unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Phil.
Yeah, good to talk to you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, take care.
Good night.
So, Stacy, your microphone is crackling again.
Is it?
Yeah, we were dealing with this in the before show.
I can leave and come back because I
Yeah,
fixed it.
why don't you do that real
Okay.
quick, and I will do a little bit of shilling
Okay.
meanwhile. So I'm sorry to
BRB.
do that. Yeah. So let me talk about Skeptic Haven first for a second. If you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. We do a lot of work here. We do 5 shows a week if we can get them all done. We do Secular Soapbox on Wednesdays, which is the show that Stacy Apostacie is normally on. Thursdays, the Sunny Spot, Global Atheists, which is just what it sounds like. You'll see people that you don't normally see, which I love. The diversity and all across the world, literally around the world, from India and everywhere. Women Atheists Unload has been a really strong show for us, and Let's Talk is the newest show here. So we're still trying to get more word out about this one to get calls and things. But please spread the word for this. Put posts on your social media. I'm going to, we have a super chat. So let me bring that up real quick.
Is my microphone okay now?
That is beautiful. Just
okay, good. This is a super chat from Skeptics and Scoundrels. He said, ignore everything that last caller said. Absolutely not. We will not. We are a big fan of you, Eric. Everyone needs to go and subscribe to Eric's channel, Skeptics and Scoundrels. And just so you also know, he has been popping up on the line lately. He's been doing fantastic. He was just on the Sunday show with Matt this morning. Well, 12 noon for us because we're in the same time zone. But yeah, just watch out for him because he's doing great. So,
and I want to say, I am perfectly okay with this. You come and give us a super chat to promote your own stuff.
Right.
We're good with that. I mean, seriously, we are all working essentially for the same purpose here.
Exactly.
We compete sometimes to some small degree, but largely we are all trying to support each other because we're all trying to bring reality to the world at a time in history when humanity really for that first 100 years where they know that God belief is just not true, and yet most of the population still does believe. We are going through a long-term change, and it needs a lot more voices. It needs every voice we can get.
Yeah. And as far as supporting everyone, he is such a supportive person in this community. I just wanted to say he's very supportive in what he says, his generosity. So thank you, Eric, just for being you. Yeah. So I can't see the callers, so let me know.
We don't have one yet, but I'm going to do another little ad here real quick.
Sure.
Because this is important.
Oh,
The Better Convention is coming up, and we'll do this again at the end of the show, but I want to put it here in the middle because it's getting close, folks. We're in June now, and on August 5th and 6th, I don't know the name of the city here, but it's just west of Fort Wayne,
City?
Indiana. Yeah, but I don't think anybody knows where Columbia City is offhand either. So it's a northern Indiana. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
This will be year 2 of Better. Year 1 was amazing. It was friggin' amazing. Year 2 is going to be just as better. Yeah.
No
Be
pun
best.
intended.
Be best.
Yeah.
Just as good and hopefully a little bit better. Because it was. I've been to a handful of conventions, and I wish I could get to more, but this one had a real connection feeling to it. Wow. Some of them are a little more formal than others,
right?
And this one was really great. So please get your tickets for this. Check out it says on Eventbrite. You'll get the information on Eventbrite right now. So go to Eventbrite, go to Northern Indiana, and then check out Better and get your tickets. I got mine this week, and there's a really cool feature where you can actually pick your chair literally.
Oh my gosh.
And then there's a range of prices from, I think it was $125 to $250 for having access to people. And honestly, I would go for the full thing because it is such a social, I'm sorry, let me turn that off so you can see us again. Because it is such a social event. you really do want to get to the Saturday evening socializing, and that's the thing that you get in addition to the show with the top prize.
Well, if anyone wants to sponsor me, I'm in Canada, so it's a long way and it's expensive, but I would love to go to one of those.
Yeah,
That's my goal for next year, is to attend one of these events. So, yeah.
Well, this is now where you guys can do a little fundraising on your channel with your mom.
True.
And then you'll have to like laser fight your mom to see who gets to take the ticket that you can.
No,
you can
well,
laser battle it.
If one of us goes, we both go. Like that's how it'll be. So that's our goal.
I'm gonna check. Let's see, in comments, they just have the super chat, so I'm gonna let that go. So let's do something different here and jump over to we have a set of questions that we can just grab to give us something to talk about. Which, by the way, means we don't have a caller in the queue, so please call us, 984-789-4787. So, okay.
Hold on. Yes, there needs to be a convention in Canada. How easy is it to just stay and not come back to the US? That's true. There is going to be one, but it's going to be in Ontario in August. But here's the thing. I don't live in Ontario. So there needs to be one on the West Coast.
Well, I don't live in Indiana, and I'm going. So
I know.
That's not an excuse.
But I live near Vancouver, which is like a very international city. And who doesn't want to go to Vancouver? So
not me. My wife and I want to get up there on our next trip.
So we need to plan a Vancouver convention. That's what
That'd
I'm
be
saying.
cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Okay.
We can get lots of people up there.
Right?
Okay. Well, let's give this one a try.
Okay.
So go ahead and read that to me, and then we'll
okay.
give our 2 cents on it.
Okay. My answer to assertions of God created everything has always been, if everything needs a creator, who created God? I never got a response back.
If God created everything, yeah, this is an interesting question, because the idea of everything having to be made, having a designer, is something that people always get wrong, because what they're essentially saying is that for something to be created, it is consistent with what I know in my experiences in the world. This thing was made, that thing was made, so this thing had a maker.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make a distinction between the natural and the manufactured, but the point that always gets me is that what they really don't get is that when you're talking about the cause and effect that we all know, that you're all basing this logic on, that's within the universe that we know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to say that who created God, to say that everything has to have a creator does not necessarily have to be true outside of our universe and before our universe. We literally have no clue whether or not that is true or needs to be true or is necessarily true. We have no idea. Ooh, what happened to?
I don't know.
You went away. Come back.
Okay.
Hold on. This is the wrong box.
This is okay.
There you go. Thank you. So that's one thing. And to make the assertions then that, well, God is outside of time and space. I gotta stop.
Oh, you muted it by touching your mic. There we go.
Hello. 1, 2, 3.
Hey.
So the whole God is outside of time and space, so therefore that answers your question. That is just a complete assertion.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to make assertions and then go on from there with your logical argument with as if that's a logical argument.
Right.
What do you think? What do you have to say on this one?
I feel like when theists say these kinds of things, or it's like they're trying to get a gotcha to atheists, like they want to try and get you in this sort of question where it's like, haha, what do you have to say to this? So it's like they want to try and trap you. and just to be like, well, how did everything come from nothing type of question. And it's, I probably would have said the same thing when I was a Christian, without understanding all of it. So,
Mhm.
but as far as God created everything has always been, and who created God, I don't have an answer to all of these big philosophical questions. So,
Well, that's kind of the point here, because I mean, this
yeah,
question, as I'm reading it now, this is a
yeah,
question from an atheist to a theist,
right,
right?
okay,
So
yeah,
who created God? You're telling me if everything has to have a creator, then who created God? And then the theist can't answer it.
right.
Well,
That's true. So
there's
I was kind of looking at it from the other way around, but
yeah. So was
because
I originally.
sometimes, yeah, it's because that's how I feel Christians try to trap you into
Yeah,
things. But I
but
guess, yeah, as an
I think your
atheist,
answer was right though, because there is no good answer to that question, which is what the question is implying. And
exactly.
it's like, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'd say when people try to make that argument to you, on the atheist side, just don't let them get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even go so far as to, if this theist is asking an atheist to point that out,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in that kind of a conversation
Yeah.
that allows that back and forth, that you really can't answer this, because there isn't an answer. It's an I don't know arena, and
Exactly.
we have to stop there.
And as far as the I don't know, Christians are really, they cannot say I don't know. I've had a lot
Yeah,
of strange answers to questions that when I was a Christian, I walked away with, what did they just tell me? That was the strangest answer to a very simple question, where now I would have been like, a simple I don't know would have made a lot more sense than what they just tried to feed me.
yeah,
um, they can't say I don't know, because that's impossible. They have to come up with a very strange answer to fit their theological framework.
yeah,
And now it's actually very freeing to just sometimes say I don't know, or I don't have an answer for that, and then just be like, that's satisfying for me.
yeah. And I think there's
So
a psychology behind that, but I don't want to talk about that
yeah.
today. We have another caller, so I'm
Oh,
going to jump to the phones. And this is Wally from Washington.
oh, Walla Walla,
Um,
Washington.
No, but my uncle is in Walla Walla, Washington for life for murdering people.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's not how I expected this call to start.
He gets all the W's.
He actually is. But the crazy thing is my grandparents don't shun him, but they shun me because I'm an outspoken atheist. So
Well, he's forgiven, Wally. Okay.
apparently you can just murder people and it's totally cool in
Yeah.
Christian's mind.
As long as you can convert at the very end, that's all that really matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta come in there with the clutch, Anyways, no, I just thought it might be interesting to talk about it. So my grandparents are pretty wealthy, and a lot of my family members have, even though I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I'm probably like every caller now at this point, but
Yeah, it seems to be the
Almost.
theme. Yeah.
3 out of 4.
we're all here for Rion, really. But anyway, so because of the religion, a lot of my family members still pretend they kind of sort of believe it just to stay in the will of my grandparents. And I'm like I'm probably the only one in our family that has been willing to like stand up, because people, I guess they get so enamored by that 6 figures that's going to come in the next couple years that they think to themselves, oh boy, howdy, I'll just pretend to believe in this thing. And I am terrible at not speaking up when I think something is vile and disgusting. It's just, I have like an inability in my soul to just stay quiet whenever I see something. I'm like, nope, I'm going to call this out. But part of me lately has been wondering, I mean, 250 grand, you know, that goes a long way in life. So I'm wondering if I should like do the ultimate fake out, because if it's all a lie anyway, is my lie a worse lie? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's like the opposite. It's like the opposite problem of going to hell fear. You know,
Yeah.
you pretend to believe so because of the stupid Pascal wagers, which I won't get into, but that fails in logic. And in this sense, it's like you're trying to get something good instead of avoid something bad.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I
don't know.
I don't know. FFRF
I think I would
could do pretty well if you gave him a piece of that. So, I don't know.
I kind of want the money. I'm sorry.
I mean, it is an Aston Martin, so.
But I mean, it's your grandparents. I mean, if they're going to give it to everyone, just is that bad to say?
It's a tough.
What does it matter what you believe? You're their grandchild.
We know. It reminds me of some political stuff too. We know what's right and wrong in a moral sense, but there's also the utilitarian sort of argument, you know, where you could put this money to good use, or you're the sort of opposite of it, where you're getting cut off for bad reasons.
Sorry,
and it's funny. I don't know. I mean, we're getting tough questions today. There's no obvious answer, and you're usually going to have to go deep on this one.
Well, I relate to you so much, because when you said like how you're just when you have your mind changed and how you feel, you just say it. That's how I am. So I totally get it. I wouldn't be able to hide how I am, because as soon as my beliefs changed, I was like, I'm just telling everyone. I mean, now I'm on YouTube. I'm being me. I wouldn't be able to hide it. So it's not, you can't go back.
Authenticity is a wild thing, isn't it? Holy.
Pardon?
Authenticity is
yes. Yeah. Like I'm who I am. Yeah. And if you don't like it, then, well, whatever. So I totally understand how you just have to be who you are. But at the same time, it's like, you should be, because you're their grandchild. I think you should be given that money no matter what, because it just for familial reasons, not because of your beliefs. That's just how I think. I would be actually more ticked off because of it should have nothing to do with your beliefs. So
yeah.
And honestly, like the money, like I don't actually care about that. Like if I'm being completely 100% honest, like I don't.
Stacey needs a ticket to Indiana. We've determined that.
I need to go to better. No,
but okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
DM me. I'll hook you up.
No.
But anyway, no. The thing is, though, what I find frustrating is it like I could get both things back. I could get like a pretty big bag, and I could get a few years or months, you know, how they're almost 80 now, with my grandparents back. And is that worth it, just to like not be outspoken about it? And it's this weird thing that I have where I just cannot not say things. Like I'm the guy that, you know, I see someone grab, like his girlfriend grabs his arm in the grocery store, and I will walk up to that motherfucker. Oh, I'm not supposed to swear. I will just walk up to that person, because I don't stand for people that are doing the wrong thing from an objective standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, be better, grow up.
Yeah. So like you stand up for the right thing.
This idea of being better.
Yeah.
Well, it's not wrong from their perspective. They think they're doing the right thing, of course. So
yeah.
It's so hard. I will say my own line is I've made a sort of a personal commitment to myself to not participate in perpetuating either things that are untrue or things that can do harm or discriminate against other people. So to go out for money would be I have to get over that hurdle first, and I don't know if I would.
Okay, here's something. We often hear about people who their grandparents or people in their family ask them on their deathbeds to just pray with them, and they are like, okay, sure, I'll pray with you. And they do that because it's just the kind thing to do, and they're not going to object to it because they're not going to just say no because their grandparent or family member is dying. So just because money is in question, does that now it's like, ooh, does it make it feel more like wrong because there's money involved? Do you know what I mean?
Kind of,
So,
actually. Yeah, no, it does make it feel a little more ick.
yeah. So
I ain't trying to be no hoe.
I get the dilemma for sure. But I mean, would you pray with your grandparents if they asked you to pray with them?
No, I wouldn't. I couldn't
No?
do that.
On their deathbed?
I think the hard thing too is, like, I have other family members that would be in my life, but they are like, why do you have to be outspoken? Why do you have to like have a YouTube channel where you talk about the religion? Why do you have to do this, that, and the third? And even though they don't believe, they are also shunning me. And I'm standing there like waving my arms like, you guys are such cowards. Like, such cowards. Like, for a bit of money, you would sacrifice your humanity. Shame on you. Like, go just think for 10 seconds and you can come up with a way to make money. It's not that difficult, if I'm being completely honest. And you're just, why would you sacrifice the only thing that you do have control over? That's your morality. That is the person you are. And those things are way more important to me. So I don't know. But,
well, maybe that's your answer
like,
then. Maybe that's the right answer for you.
Could you be honest with them and say, hey, I'm not religious, but I'm still your grandchild. Can I still get
the last time that I talked to them, they said, hey, you can come out to Florida and we can hang out. We just won't talk about any religion. And I was like, okay, cool. Boom. Booked a ticket, everything. And I just was like, okay, I know you guys live in like Palm Beach, but like, I just need an address or whatever. And I just got completely ghosted after I like booked a ticket and made my travel plan and everything. And I've never heard anything back from them ever. That was the last thing we ever said. And so it's just so frustrating.
That's weird.
Oh, well, that's sending you completely mixed messages.
There's something else going on there. I don't know if somebody in the family just sort of convinced the rest of the family that you would be making the grandmother uncomfortable or something like that. There's something else going on there. Yeah.
And mind you, like in the paradigm of this religion, they are what's called inactive. So my grandma's been inactive which means you haven't gone to a church, you haven't gone publicly preaching in 3 months. She's been inactive for 40 years, longer than I've been alive. And
well, that's a big factor here. That's a big factor here then. I'm sorry, that's a big factor here, because then it's not so much about the family, it's about what she thinks. So if you have a good relationship with her, an honest relationship, that's pretty important. And then maybe you just let the chips fall where they may. If you feel that strong for yourself and you think your grandmother is going to be okay with it, on top of it, have a good relationship with your grandmother. Let your family know that demonstrate to your family the best you can when they let you in the room that you're a decent person and all that stuff. And
but the only problem with that is you have to like fully commit and you have to fully believe in order to get in the room. For them to answer the phone, for them to pick up the phone, you have to say, I believe in this 100%.
Do you? Do you? Do you know where she is? Do you have her address? Can't you just go visit?
I do not.
Wow.
I could find it, but you know.
Wow. All right.
Wow.
Gosh, I would try not to
Welcome
let
to
them
my life.
cut you off if
Yeah.
it's possible. If it's possible, I would try not to let them cut you off, not let them control. I mean, that's elder abuse, to be perfectly honest with you. If you want to look at it that way, to cut off a family member for possibly for financial reasons, they may be church reasons, but or both, whatever. But it's elder abuse to not let them make their own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many layers to it.
yeah. Okay, well,
It is
so,
shocking
I mean,
that they're able to like still have a relationship with their son who's a murderer, and they'll still go and visit him and see him, and
Yeah.
yet they refuse to talk to me because I'm like, yeah, that Genesis story seems kind of cooked.
Well, just let them know that there's always the chance you'll convert on your deathbed. So just you're keeping that window open. So maybe
Keep
we'll
the
talk
hope
to you.
alive.
So,
Just bait them. Be like, hey, there's always hope for me. Don't ever give up on me.
Exactly.
none of us are immortal. None of us knows everything. So maybe there's a chance. Maybe you will convert on your deathbed. You never know.
You know, me and you both, brother.
All righty. Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much for
right.
calling, Wally.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right. Have a good show.
Bye,
Thank
Wally.
you. That was so hard.
Yeah.
So you get these moral dilemmas. I mean, that's what I see a good, well-written TV show. It's a tough when it's framed without a really easy answer, an obvious answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
God. I'm going to bring in Sven from Washington. Who is spiritual. Should atheists be more welcoming to those between atheism and theism? I'm not sure what he means by between, so why don't you go ahead and ask him. Welcome,
Okay.
Sven, to Let's Talk.
Good evening. Good evening. Did you
Hey.
say you're not sure what you mean by like in between?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you'd be between. Should atheists be more welcoming to those between atheism and theism? You mean in a middle position, or just to
It's
both?
like a typical definition of theism. So I would say a typical definition of theism would be, someone who follows a specific theology with dogma. But, there's a lot of people who are just spiritual like myself. I consider myself at least a classical Platonist, but anyone from the panpsychist to the animist could be considered non-theist positions. And so that's what I would consider in between.
Okay.
Okay. Stacy, what do you think?
So should atheists be more welcoming to someone who's in your position? Is that your question?
Yeah, it just seems I don't necessarily still talk with my family, so I'm not concerned necessarily with like familial relations. I apologize, my crows next door decided to wake up.
That's okay.
So like finding community and just making new family, which I've tried to do for a long time, and I have a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems theists nor atheists are really interested in someone who's just in between. You get called wooey or
Right.
delusions of grandeur. But there are a lot of people who believe in souls, but not a god, or interest themselves in God talk.
So are you just trying to find a community that you can sort of connect with, and that's where you're having trouble, or have you found a community? Like, are you wanting to sort of align yourself with the atheist community? Is that what you're wondering?
Yeah, I guess during like part of deconverting from religion is trying to find new community and all, and outside. I have a few passions, video games and some pop culture things, but finding community, it seems hard when you're trying to find a truth that's not one of the two main worldviews.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, you can be really dogmatic as a theist, and so I try not to be dogmatic as an atheist now. I don't want to fall into that same trap that I used to be. I do have a friend who she's deconverted from Jehovah's Witnesses, as we've seen tonight as a theme. And I think she would probably fall into the category that you're describing. And she and I have really great discussions, and we've connected in a really amazing way because we have similar stories and experiences from just leaving religion. But I'd say she probably would relate to sort of what you're describing. So I don't question her on sort of some of what she kind of still holds on to as far as like I don't what I mean by not questioning her is I don't like I'm like, okay, if that's what you want to kind of think, that's fine, because I'm not trying to make people think what I think now, just because I came out of that as a Christian, trying to make people believe what I believe. So I don't have that pressure anymore as an atheist, trying to make people believe what I now believe. So I'm totally fine if a friend wants to, if they want to play with tarot cards or whatever. It's like, okay, that's fine. You can do you. That's not for me. But as far as finding community online, though, I think for the atheists, it's a pretty skeptical community. Those kinds of things are definitely not for me. So I think it might be a little harder to break in because people are very skeptical.
Well, the
Yeah.
question he's posing is, should we be more welcoming and accepting of those who are, in this case,
Yeah.
spiritual,
I
right?
think personally, I am. But you're going to be questioned. They're going to be like, why do you believe that? Because yeah, I mean, sure. Personally, yes, I'm welcoming, but I'm all as a community online, there you are going to be questioned. So I don't
So,
know.
Sven, are you feeling, have you been interacting with atheist groups and finding you're being pushed away, or how are people reacting to you in general right now?
Yeah, I would say I go back on call-in shows about 2 years, and I would have listened to them for about 5. I started a philosophy journey in university when I left conversion, and had lots of people to converse with there. And I guess just getting online, it's harder to find those in between. Though, I mean, we do exist because we do get a lot of pushback when we're in there. But we're obviously in there because the theist community is also not welcoming to us, if that makes sense.
So that narrows it even further. I mean, you've got theists, and then you've got deists, and then you've got, this is not entirely a continuum, but it's almost kind of a different category, being spiritual and being a deist. And then agnostic and atheism, right? To sort of give a range. Honestly, I think there's a couple different ways to look at this. If we look at what is true, if we get really objective and analytical about it, we can have those discussions, but only with people who want to be in a discussion, right? So the thing about people that are spiritual, and it kind of brings up the question of, why do we talk against theists, or really against the ideas and the religions itself, is because we see harm and we just see discrimination coming from those communities. You don't see that from the spiritual. I will be somewhat anecdotal about this, and I'd love to see if anybody has a study on it. Have you, Sven, have you ever met an unkind spiritual person, a non-religious spiritual person?
I would say there are some polytheists, but then I guess they would identify as a dogma theist. So yeah, I would say any spiritualist that doesn't abide by a dogma, that whether it be 2,000 years old or new like Scientology, no, they've always been kind.
Yeah, so that to me is a distinction. If you believe in something and you're not hurting other people, number one, for yourself and partners and things like that, things are consensual. Number two, you're not harming others in society. Spiritual people, from my experience, have always been very live and let live kind of people. And there's a big degree of celebration, I think, to be had there and connection to be made there. So I am going to agree. I'm going to say, yes, we should be more, I don't know if welcoming is the right word, because but certainly willing to interact and friendly.
Engage.
I will. I had one experience where I did a panel a number of years ago called "Believers and Non-Believers in Discussion," and one week we'd have 2 against 2 with a moderator, and one week we had a Wiccan gentleman on one side, and he invited me to one of their ceremonies after the show. It was their spring ceremony, and it was beautiful. The people were and I know what they were doing was all very woo and spiritual, and there was some animal skull and things like this, but my gosh, they were just the kindest group of people. And there's a lot of room for that. I see a lot of room for connection. I see a lot of room for overlap on other issues, just like LGBT community, right? We're supporting each other, even though we're not exactly the same in various different ways. So yeah, I think the atheist community should be more welcoming to the spiritual community, and certainly more interactive and never dismissive. I mean, if you want to get into you've had a philosophy background, you said, so if you want to get into a philosophy discussion, then okay, then you've opened yourself, you've gotten into the arena, if you will. But welcoming and interactive, yeah, I think there's room for that. I think there's room. I would think there are groups out there on social network. Have you looked, or even on Meetup or anything like that? Because I've seen spiritual groups on Meetup.
I wouldn't say I found a good community that I believe, kind of aligned with what I do here. Most of the podcasts I listen to, you tend to come out as UK. But like I said, I luckily do have other passions in video game and stuff, so I have community, but there's just this itching part of me from university that still, cares about truth and who we are as humans. And if I always say I believe in 2/3 what the theists believe in. You spoke about truth, and so knowledge and soul are like the 2 most important things to me. And it just seems like there's, I don't know. Is it okay to mention other call-in shows on this?
Yeah, go ahead. We're all, like I say, we're both said before, we're all working in the same direction. So.
I always appreciated my talks on Truth Wanted because Dan talks about building community and that we shouldn't push away like Unitarian Christians because he's one that fights a good fight. But it seems like the more shows maybe I find, or the more that do get created, there's just this pushback against people who just, want a comforting belief, which I don't think necessarily should be something we should go against.
Well, it depends. Yeah, I think. I'm sorry.
Meaning is important to people.
Sorry, I'm still getting used to this delay thing going on. So sorry to talk over you there. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. I think there's room. I would say that on Meetup I have seen groups that are interested in spiritual bonding, or however you want to call it. So if there is not one, start one. And the other thing is that spiritual, it could be a step on a journey for you, Tote. So, being that you're open to talk to people, being spiritual is fine. You don't have to stay there either. So, especially with a philosophy background, what I love about philosophy is it gives you permission to talk about and explore any subject, right? It's the one place that we're allowed to sort of like take the borders away and come up with new ideas sometimes. So I think that's always a good thing.
Definitely. I've appreciated what both you guys have said tonight. Like I said, it's not something I would ever want to push on people. I never have an agenda of, I think belief is very personal. It's part of the subjective nature of humans. So I appreciate you guys talking about that. Were there any other questions for me? I'm kind of at my end of blank of how.
No, I just want to say you are You sound like an interesting person, and I would want to get to know more about you and what you believe and why you believe it and how this is meaningful to you. And so that just implies to me that there are others that want the same thing. So I would go seek that community. I'll bet you it is out there. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, I found you guys through Harmon, and I think I've seen Apostacie before, so I'm glad I found your community and look forward more to interacting with it.
Thank you so much. Call us again, Sven.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Next up we have, how's our time here? Oh, we got time for another call. We have Ethan from Arizona. He says hosting more events is very important work. Okay, let's see what Ethan has to say. Welcome to the host room.
Hey,
Ethan,
thanks for taking my
let's
call.
talk. What have you got for us, Ethan?
Thanks for taking my call. First, I wanted to state that my original point for calling in was I stumbled on your show on YouTube, and I thought it was, seeing more of these call-in shows, seeing more people talk about this discussion, have the debate between theology and atheism is super important. And it kind of just triggered an emotional response in me. And I was like, dude, I want to call in and say thank you. But then I was listening to your previous caller, and while I agreed with some of the inclusivity that the atheist community needs to have, there's a limit, I think. Yeah. And so as I'm actually a member of the Satanic Temple, and we have our 7 fundamental tenets. If you guys don't know what those are, I highly recommend looking those up, reading about those. They're very influential and philosophical. But the 5th one, and it's probably my favorite, is it says, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world, and one should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Now, I balk at spiritualism for a couple of reasons. One, nobody can ever define what it is or what usefulness it has. And 2, it can lead people down a road where we end up with things like jade rocks from goop or other mystical, unrealistic healing practices that can lead to harm. I think that spiritualism is one of those things that just further spreads misinformation and ignorance. And if it brings one person peace, I guess fine. They're not nearly as bad as obviously like Christian dominionists.
Yeah.
And people who are trying to force religion into government, law, education, etc.
Yeah.
But I still see that there's some danger to that belief structure. And I was just wondering maybe like what you guys thought of my position on that.
Stacey?
You go first, Phil.
You first?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm not trying to be contrary to the last caller, but I do agree with you because I'm probably more similar to you are to you because of my scientific background, where I am more I want to know what's true, and I want other people to act and believe and make decisions based on what's true and what's real. However, I won't disagree with you, but I guess I will go against it to a degree. I won't go quite as far as you, because I see a lot of opportunities for coming together with like interests, and because there is overlap. I mean, look, progressive Christianity has overlap. You talk about the LGBT community and minority communities and all sorts of things. So yeah, I think it's important to. I would like to have a conversation with a spiritual person and have the conversations about what's real and why they believe, and try to help them examine their logic, and maybe they will change their minds. We would all love to come to know exactly what Carl Sagan knew and understand the universe to that degree, kind of a thing. But I'm not sure that I'm willing to go to the degree to say that there's no room. I mean, how many calls have we had tonight that have already said that there are people in my family that will never change? There's only so much you can do, and within a family, which is kind of the point where the topic we're on tonight. Yeah. How exacting do you want to make those? I think there's room for a little bit of leeway, at least there. But I I have no.
And I agree with you that the leeway needs to happen. Obviously, you're going to have overlap, like you said, in every community. I think there's overlap in the Christian community. There's overlap in pretty much every community. And to the extent that someone being spiritual is for themselves and themselves only, and they're not doing anything to their kids medically, or they're not actually causing harm, then I honestly, even with Christians, I have no problem with those people. It's the ones who want to tell me that as a member of the LGBTQ community, I'm an abomination, or I shouldn't exist, or shouldn't have rights.
Right.
Or it's the spiritualist one who's mixing a bunch of roots thinking they can cure cancer.
Yes.
I mean, there's a limit, and I think this should be largely subjective to each individual person when we're considering these behaviors and these thoughts and these beliefs. Who is harmful to themselves or others versus who isn't.
Yeah. So then maybe maybe that's your answer right there. You really have to take it on a case by case basis. You know, because you're going to step up and be vocal and let them know your opinion. If you find a parent that is going to be withholding, blood from in surgery from their children, you're going to make that known, and you're going to make that known loudly and strongly. So there's a time and place, and
I mean, I'm on dialysis for kidney failure, so I get a lot of Christians on TikTok telling me that I need to pray to Jesus and he'll heal me. It's frustrating.
Tell me you have better things to do with your time. So feel free to pray for me. It's your life. I know. I am more on your side, like I say, so I can appreciate what you're saying, and I do appreciate, frankly, the Satanic Temple for what they've done for, just pushing pro science and separation of church and state in particular. I gotta say.
I one of the fights that they take up quite a bit of this culture war fight that I think conservatives have started. And the three that I am most intrigued by, the reason I support the Satanic Temple is the fight for LGBTQ rights, the fight for women's rights and bodily autonomy, and the fight against corporal punishment for children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's a battle we're into with a few red states right now because they're trying to legalize corporal punishment for children in public school or private school.
Yeah. Which feels like going back 200 years, doesn't it? So.
Yeah, it does. It's scary because, like, I grew up in a family where we had that. My parents were very much the belt, the board of education, the hand, whatever was available at the time.
Yeah.
If you stepped out of line, you got your ass swatted, that kind of stuff. And it really does lead to adult, I think, emotional issues, health issues. So it's
and it leads to generational cycling too.
In that fight.
Yeah, and it leads to generational cycling too, right? Because if kids that are spanked become parents who spank, so
right,
it just keeps going.
And my brother and my sisters have kids, and they went down that route initially with their children until their children reached about 3 or 4, and then they stopped. They didn't see the utility in it anymore. Initially, it was they would give. Like I watched at Walmart once, my sister took my niece across up out of the carriage and put one across her diaper and set her back down because she was throwing a tantrum about a toy that she had grabbed off the shelf and her mother had put back. And it got her attention, and she stopped and she paid attention to what my sister was saying to her. And my sister tried to have a conversation with a 4-year-old after that incident. I don't think my sister took any pleasure in doing that, but eventually they did. About 4, 5, or 6 years old, with all of my nieces and nephews, my brother and sister stopped that kind of punishment altogether, and it became timeouts and other things.
Yeah.
My brother being more military, he has his kids doing push-ups when they step out of line. So I really support the Satanic Temple in moving away from that type of attitude towards children. Children shouldn't experience violence from the people they're supposed to trust the most in life.
That's interesting, the push-ups, because it feels like a different sort of thing. So it occurred to me that I wouldn't spank my child, but maybe I would make them do push-ups, but I would get down and do it with them.
Yeah.
And
my brother's theory is physical exertion is not child abuse. It's exercise.
Well, so okay. So again, you've done a wrong thing. There are consequences, but can we please find a way to have consequences that aren't a form of torture in some scale, somewhere on the scale?
Right.
So yeah, there are alternatives. So
Mhm.
And
and
I really
alternatives.
like the other fight that as far as like the Satanic Temple goes. Like I said, I agree with all their fights, but the fight that I think has the most impact on American society is the fight for women's right to bodily autonomy. I think from so many different standards, whether you want to measure that economically, if you want to measure that socially, if you want to measure that medically or health-wise in our United States, fighting Roe v. Wade was the most single damaging thing I think conservatives could have done up to this point. Because the reason America is the economic powerhouse that it is that women gained the right to work in the U.S. after World War II, and we saw our economy skyrocket as a result. And with women fighting for their equality, we've noticed that America's done better in many ways. Right now, women are outnumbering men in STEM, science research, and getting PhD doctorates and all this other stuff. You guys are stomping on men because it's to cut Roe v. Wade. I feel like that's going to have long-term detrimental consequences. That's going to be felt by a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping the consequences.
And so any organization that's fighting against that, like American Atheists, the Satanic Temple, the ACA, etc.
Yeah, it's important. I appreciate what you're saying, Ethan, and I hope you'll call us again. And I'd like to.
Yeah,
I will say, Stacy, I'd love to see us do a show on putting more attention on the Satanic Temple.
I would love to do a show on that.
I have some questions that I'm not going to throw them out here, so just because it's too much.
What about you, Apostacie? What do you have to say about what I'm?
I'm just glad you called in. I'm getting called for dinner in my text messages, so I'm just.
I'm taking you guys over time. I'm sorry.
No.
No, you're not yet. So
you're not. But I appreciate everything. That was my mom at the door. I just love everything that you've had to say, and I would actually love to do a show, like a call-in show about the Satanic Temple, and get more of your insights on it, because just since deconverting, I've actually done so much research on it because I have the freedom to do that, and I find it fascinating, and I love the tenets of it and what they stand for. I was terrified of looking into anything that was deemed satanic, and I think what it's for is fantastic for human rights, for everything. So yeah, good for you.
I'm very happy to come on, and I can't. I'm not going to sit here and say that I represent the Satanic Temple, because in no way do I whatsoever. But I do. I am a member. I do support what they stand for. I do have a few TikTok channels. Actually, I've been banned so many times it's kind of insane, but
it's ridiculous.
I see what you guys are doing on TikTok. I host lives and debates, and I make content and create videos, and I get in a lot of trouble for it, because if you question religion, it's hate speech.
Yeah.
Well, you got to find the line. There's a how you do it too, I suppose. I don't know. The rules keep changing, so
yeah,
we're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
Well, Ethan, I'm gonna let you go. Please call again.
But I appreciate you guys taking my call,
Please
and thank you so much. And again, I'm watching the conversation. You guys are doing wonderful. Thank you so much for adding to the community.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You too.
Is my mic acting weird again?
It is.
That's
so
skeptics.
So
I don't know why
we're thinking back to the caller who came before. I forget what the name was, but so Sven. Stacy needs a trip to Indiana. She needs a new microphone, apparently.
No, this is brand new.
Is it really?
This is brand new from the line. So there's nothing wrong with my mic. There's just something.
Oh, well, then you're
okay. So the
call,
USB.
You're gonna have to call. What's his name?
Jimmy.
Jimmy, and
I'm gonna ask him.
Jimmy knows tech. Jimmy knows.
Jimmy
tech.
will help me.
he needs to have that as business.
Okay, so the
All right.
USB. Okay, I'll look
So
into
we'll
it.
so we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up and
So the only reason I have to go is because I have been working all day and I came home and I sat down and I haven't eaten anything. And my mom is being a good mom and wanting to feed me. So
all right. Well, next time have a little snacky before.
there was no time.
There's always time for chocolate.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry about
Well,
my mic.
Thanks everybody. Stacey, you want to
Thank you.
wrap us up with some of our thank yous and stuff?
Only
Let's
if my
see.
mic is not being annoying.
Okay. Let's see. Let's bring up.
Is it so bad?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
The patrons.
Okay. Yes.
You don't have
Thank
to say me. So.
Okay. I won't thank you. Thank you to our patrons, Sydney Davis Jr., Eric Ozols, Tara S., Ryan, Deneen Murphy, Dan D., Michael Wiseman, Kathy Cotton, Cindy Plaza, Sunny Shell, Aaron Coalson, Phil Calderone. Sorry, I have them memorized by now. So thank you to everyone for calling, for being here in the chat. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out all of our other shows that we have throughout the week. And we will be here next week for another Let's Talk. And
Till then, be kind to each other.
yes. Good night.
This is Skeptic Haven. Let's talk.